Hey mamas, we know you're not sitting around at home anymore like we were earlier in the pandemic, so we're going to be changing up the show now to fit your needs. The new show name? Well, we asked and you voted for Every Mom Should Know, Knowledge Bombs for Modern Moms. We'll be transitioning to giving you shorter golden nuggets from our interviews posted on the Maui Mama Facebook page and Facebook groups. But if you prefer, you can see the whole interview on YouTube on the ChewOnThis media channel. And you can also see full interviews on Akaku Channel 54. We'll keep you posted on these changes as we adapt to this post-CoronaMama phase. Every mom should know. Knowledge bombs for modern moms.
My name's Shawn
Previously
Marks.
on
I'm a senior
Reinventing Education
at Kihei
with
Charter
Shawn
High
Marks.
School, if you know where that is. Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of kids are way more adaptive to technology than the older generation because they're more accepting to change. So, if a person who's been going to the library for the books for 30 years is handed a computer and says, "This is your library now," they're going to be like, "I want to go to the library. I like the library." But if you hand somebody that's never been to a library a computer before and make them choose between having all the information in this little book-sized thing and going to a building and, spending 30 minutes driving there, they'll obviously pick the computer. So I think that for these new generations, they need to tailor to kids' needs instead of trying to think for what would I want to do. They need to think, what would the new generation want to do, and how can we incorporate, their advice and their feedback and whatever.
And hey mamas, did you know about this great new outdoor farm stand and kitchen that recently opened up in Kula? What I love about it is that it's perfect for food to go or a quick bite, especially with young kids, and great during these COVID times with outdoor benches where you can eat breakfast or lunch. The produce is all locally grown right there on the biodynamic farm, and you'll also find other locally grown organic items. The Maui Bees farm stand sells locally made yummy treats, home-bottled fermented foods, handmade goods, even locally baked organic sourdough bread. Yum. And of course, their own Maui Bees honey. Now, full disclosure, I have been a customer of Maui Bees for years when they offered a pick-your-own produce program, and the owners, Mark and Leah Damon and their son Aaron, are salt of the earth kind of people who kindly decided to support the CoronaMama show. Thanks so much, dear friends. Here's a sample of the menu that changes daily, and next week we'll introduce you to their fermented foods and its microbiome goodness. Be sure to let them know that you heard about Maui Bees from the CoronaMama show to get your 10% discount. And now for part 2 of our main segment with high school student Shawn Marks and how we have an opportunity post-pandemic learning to reinvent education for the better. Since we're on that topic of like the distance learning and then the hands-on learning, can you see that being combined somehow?
Yeah, I think that if your school's really far away, I think that you should have an option to have distance learning. I don't know how they'd make it, because some kids might just take advantage of it and just do distance learning for the whole year and not even show up to school. But if they could somehow combine the distance learning and online learning and in person, kids might have a better time at school when they're at school because they're not going to be forced to go. They're going to have a choice. You can either stay home and look at a computer for 6 hours, or you can go to school and meet your friends and have fun and run around at, lunchtime and whatever. Or if you want to have more of a chill day, you can stay home. So I think that if they don't force, if they leave children and teens especially a choice, they'll probably not take advantage of it. But the people that do, I wouldn't really have an idea on how to have people not take advantage of that.
To hold them accountable somehow. I'm sure
Yeah,
they figure out how to hold them accountable for
sure.
some kind
You
of.
can figure out anything, but I think that change would be welcome, because I certainly have days where I wake up and I'm like, I do not want to go to school today. This is ridiculous. I want to stay home. I don't even want to get out of bed. And for those kinds of days, as it might be, maybe once a week, maybe once a month, would depend. You shouldn't be forced to go to school. And if you give, people what they want, they're going to be more open to learning and listening to what you have to say as a school, as a teacher. And I have specific examples of this. You know, if a teacher is my friend, I will always have a way better time in the class than if the teacher's mean and just disrespectful and doesn't care. I mean, that's a really obvious fact. So I think of the school system also does that, and kind of, again, tailors to the needs of the youth. Um, the youth are going to have a lot more fun in school, and school won't be as miserable. So
Well, you were homeschooled for a bit, right? Or were you not?
no, that was my sister's.
Oh, your
The
sister.
day I was homeschooled, I ran around and did not listen to a word that the teacher said. She was a great teacher. That wasn't my thing.
Mm, mm. Well,
Yeah.
what I was thinking was that it seems that with homeschooling, homeschoolers tell me it really only takes an hour to maybe 4 hours max. And 4 hours is like max on those really heavy days where there's a lot of work to do that you have to fulfill. But there's a lot less time involved. So I'm thinking that if we did go to some online or home learning, and then that in person when you want to be in person, then we could probably cover everything that really is required.
Mhm.
It's like you probably don't have to sit in front of a computer for 6 hours.
Yeah.
That's like
No, really, you
really
don't.
overkill, actually, or be in school for 6 hours. That's really overkill. Or kids are spending so much time in school because I think parents have to work. So people
Um,
are like, the system is accounting for, okay, it's like childcare. It's basically childcare.
I was just gonna say, school systems are just as much of a babysitting service as a learning service.
Hmm.
And I don't think it's fair to task teachers with both of those. It's a lot. And you know, I'm a teacher at my gymnastics place for 12-year-olds. They're the absolute epitome of hard to uh, hard to contain and hard to control, because they're just on the cusp of, no, I'm going to do what I want to do and not what you say, but they're also really need a lot of assistance when it comes to um, you know, helping with stuff. So it's really hard to be both a babysitter and a teacher. And I think that, you know, teachers now should be um, commended a lot more than they are. And honestly, paid a little bit more as well would be nice, because I know there's a lot of educational strikes, or there were a while ago. But yeah, it's a really hard job.
I'm wondering
And
if
I
they
haven't
could
noticed that until
condense
now.
like the learning so that it's a teacher is teaching, and that's what that time is for. And then the child care can be a whole separate, more free experience
Yeah.
where it can be more hands-on. It could be sort of learning, because I think whatever you do, you're still learning, but where it's more hands-on, or like activities going out, instead of like a field trip, it's like an actual, like, like weekly or bi-weekly or 3 times weekly trip that you can go on, or even an everyday outing, so
Yeah.
that there's learning in every capacity that can happen, but it doesn't have to be so like locked down in a classroom, or like
Yeah.
in a contained school. And there could be funding for that. Like literally, I heard about funding, which it a lot of times comes down to is like, well, how do we fund that? Or how do, but to fund these unconventional that can become conventional, that actually works better for students, especially like high schoolers.
You know, I think that the less static a classroom is, and the more, you know, you move around and you see different angles and different perspectives of things, and you go on field trips and stuff, obviously it's going to be more engaging. Um, that, but yeah, it's, as you said, the funding part and the details are really complicated, and nobody's willing to work on it. You
But
know,
if they
nobody's willing to
don't,
put in the effort of change. Yeah.
I feel like if they don't, we are working with a broken system that's ineffective. And I mean, I'm just a mom talking, but I know a lot of parents and teachers and even administrators do watch the show. So it, if we're if we're going to stick with something that's broken, we're just putting more energy into something that's not actually working for our kids. And so I think that this is actually the opportunity, because otherwise a lot of parents are going to keep their kids out of the public school system. They're
Yeah.
going to keep their kids out, and they're going to hire, if they can afford it, private tutors and, do that whole thing, because those kids are enjoying it, the parents who have figured that out. But I know that there actually has been funding talked about, and this is a little bit dry to talk about, but funding
No.
toward, like giving the people who don't have the ability financially to actually have groups situated where they can figure that out. And I'm just looking at this utopian wise, because I'm sure there's more to it than I know. But if that were to happen, that could look really interesting and more
Mhm.
revived for students.
If I was a dictator, I would probably change the school system a lot, but I would also include the opinions of a lot of different people, and none of those people would be adults because they don't have any place saying what they want. Just like white men and stuff like that don't have the right to make opinions about women's rights. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I think it needs some major revision, and they need to seriously think of maybe putting out a poll or a vote where children can participate, and that would be a cool time to teach children how to vote and stuff like that. I don't
Or
know.
even a town hall. I mean, wouldn't that be kind of cool?
It would be super cool. I would totally participate in that and just ask them questions.
Yeah.
And you might be really surprised with the result. And you probably, I would think they wouldn't be surprised with the result. But if they actually get those numbers and the data that millions and millions of people want to change something, they'll probably be more incentivized to do it.
And join us tomorrow for part 3 with Shawn Marks on reinventing education and more.